Hi, everyone. I'm Nicolas, the co-founder and CEO of Cure51, and I'm here to talk about cancer today. But don't worry, it's not going to be tragic. I'm going to talk about cancer, giving you hope and perspective. What you can see here, the blue square that you see, is what we call an exceptional patient, a cancer survivor, sorry. So all the points on the right are patients who unfortunately will die from cancer. And sometimes, and we don't know why, we have exceptional survivors. We call them the superhero, the outlier, and they will survive very aggressive cancers. So this is the population that we are looking at Cure51. We are trying to eradicate cancer by identifying this population and understanding why these patients are surviving while majority of the other patients are dying. So we want to build a world where you can survive cancer and where we all together can beat cancer by understanding the exceptional biology of these incredible patients. I'm going to go fast on that, but you know that unfortunately cancer is the disease of the century. Incidence rate is increasing. It's not only a disease that touches whole population. Young people are damaged by cancer as well. And our job is really to identify all these patients all around the world. We have survivors now in more than 55 countries all over the world. So this is the country where we find survivors. As you can see, we identify patients not only in Europe, not only in the US, but in Asia, in Africa, all over the world. And we have established partnerships with more than 100 hospitals. And thanks to these hospitals, we can find these patients and, most importantly, collect all their data. So we have patients everywhere. What you see here is the hospital of Helsinki, the local hospital. In this hospital, we identified 21 cancer survivors. So just to give you an example that it's a global project. The footprint is really worldwide. So what are we doing exactly? What you can see on the left is an outlier, is an exceptional patient. What you can see on the right, unfortunately, is what we call a control patient, a typical patient that will die, unfortunately, from aggressive cancer. So what we do to understand why these patients are surviving is that we are collecting every type of data available. Clinical data, of course, all the imagery of this patient, and most importantly, the tissues, the tumors. So we get all these tissues, all these human tissues, we import them in Paris, in our biobank, and we make what we call molecular sequencing with a very advanced single-cell technology. And then we try to understand why they did survive. So the beauty of the model is that these patients are extremely rare. We are talking about less than 1% of the patients who are surviving. So this data set is unique, and it's an exceptional data set because the biology of this patient is exceptional. So our job is to understand this biology, to decode this biology, and to develop new drugs, new therapies based on the exceptional biology of these cancer survivors. To do so, we develop what we call a platform. And here it's an example of a target explorer. When you analyze the genomic data of this patient, you identify a lot of targets, a lot of signals. Our job is to classify and prioritize those targets to make sure that we can develop new drugs, efficient drugs, based on these targets. So it's really at the crossroad of science, tech, and data. It's not only an intellectual job, it's very concrete, and the good news is that in one of the most aggressive cancer we are working on, what we call PDAC, so pancreatic cancer, we already identified 2 novel targets. So 2 targets based on the biology of these patients that could potentially lead to new drugs to fight this terrible pancreatic cancer. And we went very fast. We found that in less than 3 months. Usually, when you do clinical trials and when you do academic studies, it's going to be from 3 to 5 years. So we went very fast. It's very encouraging. And our job is to multiply that kind of things and to build what we call cohorts of exceptional survivors to detect those targets, keep the IP, and then have partnership with biotech and pharma to develop new drugs. So the beauty of the model is that we can have a lot of targets for each disease we are working on and work with a lot of partners to develop new drugs and accelerate discovery. If I'm trying to give you some perspective, first we set up and we co-founded this project with hospitals. You see some of them. MD Anderson, for instance, the biggest cancer center in the world in Houston, Texas, is a shareholder of this project, and they are leading a new cohort with us, colorectal. So we really aggregate a lot of hospitals, and we develop a community of hospitals and a network of hospitals to identify the maximum number of patients. Then we are currently developing what we call a lab in the loop. It's a laboratory which is entirely driven by AI to accelerate the identification of targets and the development of new drugs. And of course, then we want to co-develop new drugs with pharmaceutical partners. So this is really the roadmap of the company. And we are really in the middle of achieving something great and impactful for the entire humanity, I would say. Camille, for instance, is a very good example. She was diagnosed 12 years ago with a metastatic pancreatic cancer. Her oncologist told her, you need to talk to your family, you need to talk to your son, you just have 6 months life expectancy. After 12 years, she's still alive, she's in a very good shape, and I love her quotation. She said, I'm here to give hope to everyone. So this is exactly the philosophy and the essence of this project. By working with survivors and understanding their biology, we really want to give hope to every patient and develop drugs that are efficient and actionable because they are based on the actual biology of exceptional cancer survivors. So again, the philosophy of this project is we start from the end. Instead of looking at the patients who are dying, we are looking at the patients, the few patients, the miraculous patients who are surviving. So starting from the end, retrospectively, we are convinced that this is the right approach, and by understanding their biology and their mechanism, we think we can give hope to a lot of patients and massively contribute to eradicate cancer. We think it's possible to fight this disease and eradicate cancer in the next 15 years. And this is really the essence of the project. So the signature of the company is really simple. We will never stop. We will never stop collecting data. We will never stop onboarding new hospitals, new doctors, new experts, until all survive, until all the patients that have been unfortunately attacked by this terrible disease can survive. This is really the mission of Cure51, and I was extremely happy to share it with you today. Thank you very much.